In the silence of deep space, an extraordinary event is unfolding. 3 Atlas, initially mistaken for a harmless comet, is on a potential collision course with Mars. Discovered in 2028 by the Mauna Kea Observatory, its trajectory seemed benign until amateur astronomers spotted subtle changes in late 2029. By January 2030, professionals confirmed that 3 Atlas was propelling itself, adjusting its course with unsettling precision. 3 Atlas shifts its trajectory by 0.05 degrees every 72 hours and accelerates by 0.003 kilometers per second daily. Spectroscopic analysis reveals a composition unlike any known comet or asteroid, a dense metallic core surrounded by an icy shell rich in rare elements. High-resolution imaging shows a smooth, geometric surface with fin-like structures along its equator, each the size of a football field. These structures seem to absorb sunlight, possibly fueling its propulsion. The scientific community is divided. Some argue 3 Atlas is an ancient probe from a civilization predating humanity, while others suggest it's a natural phenomenon we don't yet comprehend. The most unsettling theory is that it's contemporary, a vessel from a civilization still observing us. If artificial, it would revolutionize our understanding of the cosmos and surpass any human propulsion system. NASA, ESA, and Roscosmos have redirected resources to monitor the object as it approaches Mars. In 147 days, it will reach the red planet. The question is no longer if it will make contact, but what message, warning, or revelation it brings. You're standing on the edge of something humanity was never meant to find. If that idea gives you chills, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment with your theory. And if you want this story to reach others who still believe in questions, share it, X, Facebook, Reddit, or your group chat. You're helping light up the dark. Thank you for being part of this. As scientists race to unlock its secrets, humanity stands on the brink of a new chapter, one that could redefine our place in the cosmic order. Part 1. First Contact. What if the cosmos isn't as indifferent as we thought? The question had lingered for centuries, a quiet whisper in the minds of astronomers and philosophers alike. But on July the 1st, that whisper became a shout. Astronomers peering through their telescopes spotted something extraordinary, a fast-moving blur hurtling through the void. It was initially just a smudge on the star field, a faint streak that could have been dismissed as a glitch or a stray asteroid. But as the data poured in, it became clear that this was no ordinary object. 3 Atlas, as it would come to be known, was unlike anything ever recorded in over 400 years of systematic astronomical observation. The first images were grainy, captured by automated sky surveys that scanned the heavens nightly. A faint, elongated smear appeared on the digital plates, barely distinguishable from the thousands of other celestial bodies catalogued in the databases. But something about its motion caught the attention of researchers at the Minor Planet Center in Cambridge, Massachusetts. The object was moving too fast, its trajectory too sharp to be explained by the gentle tug of gravity alone. Within hours, observatories across the globe were alerted, their telescopes swiveling to lock onto the enigmatic visitor. Travelling at nearly 87 kilometers per second relative to the Sun, it tore through space with a velocity that defied easy explanation. To put it into perspective, at that speed, 3 Atlas crossed the Earth-Moon distance, roughly 384,400 kilometers, in less than 80 minutes. This was not the leisurely drift of a comet or the predictable orbit of an asteroid. It was a sprint, a cosmic dash that seemed almost urgent. Astronomers quickly calculated that if the object maintained its trajectory, it would pass within 0.05 astronomical units of Mars, closer than any known comet or asteroid had ever come to the red planet. But its speed wasn't what stunned scientists. It was its behavior. Comets, those icy wanderers of the solar system, typically slow or fragment as they approach the inner solar system. The heat of the sun boils off their frozen gases, creating the iconic tails that streak across the night sky. But 3 Atlas did neither. Instead, it began to accelerate, subtly, deliberately. This was something else entirely. Observations: 3 Atlas exhibited unprecedented acceleration and course corrections, defying typical cometary behavior. Its coma grew brighter, not in the erratic pulses of an outgassing comet, but in a steady, almost calculated manner. The object's trajectory showed deviations that could not be explained by gravitational influences alone, suggesting an internal or external mechanism was at work. Spectrum revealed unusual concentrations of metals like titanium and nickel, elements rarely found in comets, but common in meteorites and asteroids. This raised more questions than it answered. Was 3 Atlas a hybrid object, a fragment of something larger and more complex? Or was it something else entirely? Interpretation. These maneuvers suggest a level of control far beyond what natural forces could explain. The deliberate nature of its acceleration and course corrections implied intent, a purposeful adjustment that seemed to defy the randomness of the cosmos. If this was not a natural phenomenon, the implications were staggering. The object's behavior was not just unprecedented, it was impossible to explain with current models of celestial mechanics. Some researchers began to quietly suggest that 3 Atlas might be exhibiting signs of non-natural propulsion, though few dared to say it aloud. Speculation. Could 3 Atlas be more than just a comet? Could it be engineered? The question hung in the air, unspoken but inescapable. If this object was not the product of nature, then it was the product of something else, something that could guide it, control it, and perhaps even create it. The idea was both exhilarating and terrifying. Astronomers began to compare 3 Atlas to Oumuamua, the first known interstellar object, which had confounded scientists in 2017 with its own bizarre behavior. But where Oumuamua had been mysterious, 3 Atlas was something more. It was active, dynamic, and seemingly purposeful. As telescopes around the world locked onto the object, the numbers began to tell a chilling story. 3 Atlas wasn't just passing through, it was adjusting its path with surgical precision, as if zeroing in on a target. And Mars, the red planet, was now squarely in its sights. The implications were staggering. Mars, once thought to be a dead world, had become a focal point of human exploration in recent decades. Rovers had trundled across its dusty plains, and orbiters had mapped its surface in unprecedented detail. But now, something else was coming, something that seemed to have a mind of its own. The countdown to perihelion, its closest approach to the sun, had begun. But with each new observation, one question loomed larger. What happens when 3 Atlas reaches Mars? The red planet, with its thin atmosphere and bitter cold, was no stranger to cosmic impacts. Meteorites had scarred its surface for billions of years, leaving craters that told the story of a violent past. But this was different. This was not a mindless rock hurtling through space. This was something that seemed to have a purpose, a destination, and perhaps even a plan. Known, 3 Atlas is accelerating and adjusting its trajectory toward Mars. Its brightness and speed are increasing in ways that defy natural explanation. Its spectrum contains anomalous concentrations of metals, and its behavior suggests a level of control beyond known natural forces. Unknown, the source of its propulsion and the purpose behind its maneuvers. Whether this is a natural phenomenon or something far more extraordinary remains unclear. Astronomers worked tirelessly, poring over the data and sharing their findings with colleagues around the world. The object's behavior was unlike anything they had ever seen. Its acceleration was not the result of gravitational slingshotting or solar radiation pressure. It was something else, something that hinted at a level of control that should not exist in the natural world. Theories abounded, but answers were scarce. Some suggested that 3 Atlas might be a fragment of an undiscovered comet or asteroid, propelled by an unknown mechanism. Others whispered of more exotic explanations, though few were willing to commit such ideas to paper. The public, too, became increasingly aware of the object as news outlets picked up the story. Headlines like "Mystery Object Heads for Mars" and "Scientists Baffled by Rogue Comet" dominated the news cycle. Social media buzzed with speculation, ranging from the scientifically plausible to the wildly conspiratorial. Some suggested it was an undiscovered natural phenomenon, while others whispered of alien technology. The truth, however, remained elusive. Conspiracy theorists pointed to historical accounts of unexplained celestial events, drawing parallels to 3 Atlas. Others dismissed the object as a hoax or a misinterpretation of data. But as the days passed and the object continued its relentless approach, even the skeptics began to falter. As the days turned into weeks, the world watched and waited. 3 Atlas continued its relentless approach, its trajectory growing ever more precise. Mars, the red planet that had captivated human imagination for centuries, seemed to be its destination. But why? What awaited it there? The questions multiplied, but the answers remained stubbornly out of reach. All that was certain was that the cosmos had thrown humanity a curveball, and the world was watching to see where it would land. In observatories and laboratories, scientists braced for impact, not of a collision, but of a revelation. Whatever 3 Atlas was, it was coming, and with it, the possibility of a truth that could redefine our place in the universe. Part 2. The Unnatural Visitor. What if the universe is watching us back? The question, once purely philosophical, suddenly felt urgent, tangible, even dangerous. As 3 Atlas approached the inner solar system, its behavior grew increasingly erratic, defying every conventional model of cometary activity. Spectral analysis revealed intense spikes in ultraviolet energy, surging at levels 300% higher than anything observed in comets like Halley or Hale-Bopp. These spikes were not random, but followed a distinct pattern, fluctuating every 4.7 hours with a consistency that ruled out natural causes. Simultaneously, CO2 outgassing occurred at rates that would have vaporized a natural comet nucleus within weeks. The gas plumes were not uniform, but formed intricate spiraling structures, as if sculpted by an unseen hand. But it was the rhythmic pulses detected by the James Webb Space Telescope that changed everything. These weren't chaotic jets caused by sunlight melting ice. They were deliberate thrusts, perfectly timed in 17-minute intervals, each one propelling the object forward with the precision of a finely tuned engine. A pattern, a signal, a maneuver. Observations. Rhythmic gas pulses were detected in 17-minute intervals, suggesting controlled propulsion. The pulses were not merely periodic, but also varied in intensity, as if modulating to correct the object's trajectory. Infrared imaging revealed heat signatures along the object's surface, inconsistent with natural solar heating, further implying an internal mechanism at work. These heat signatures fluctuated in sync with the pulses, suggesting a direct connection between the propulsion system and an onboard energy source. Additionally, radio telescopes picked up faint, pulsating emissions at frequencies rarely observed in natural phenomena, adding another layer of mystery to the object's behavior. Interpretation. Natural comets do not exhibit such precise, repetitive behavior, implying an artificial origin. The object's ability to adjust its course in real time suggested not only intelligence, but a level of technological sophistication far beyond human capabilities. The pulses themselves seemed to defy known propulsion systems operating without detectable exhaust or fuel consumption. Some theories proposed that the object was utilizing an advanced form of ion propulsion, while others speculated about exotic technologies like antimatter or zero-point energy. The lack of visible exhaust suggested a propulsion system that operated on principles entirely unknown to human science. Speculation. Could these pulses be a form of communication? Or are they part of a larger mechanism guiding the object? Some theorized that the pulses might encode information akin to a binary signal, while others proposed they were simply the byproduct of an advanced propulsion system. Either way, the implications were staggering. If 3 Atlas was artificial, it suggested a creator, an intelligence capable of sending an object across interstellar distances with pinpoint accuracy. The sheer scale of such an endeavor hinted at a civilization far beyond humanity's technological or evolutionary stage. Some scientists even raised the possibility that the object was not a one-off visitor, but part of a larger network of interstellar probes, silently observing the cosmos for purposes we could scarcely comprehend. With each passing day, the data grew more unsettling. 3 Atlas wasn't just an interstellar interloper. It was behaving like a guided missile, adjusting its approach with a level of control unheard of in natural bodies. Astronomers tracked its trajectory as it made subtle corrections, each one bringing it closer to Mars. These corrections were not random, but followed a precise geometric pattern, as if the object were aligning itself with specific coordinates on the Martian surface. The red planet, once a symbol of humanity's future ambitions, was now a potential target. And as the projected impact distance narrowed to just 1.95 million kilometers from Mars, the implications became inescapable. This object wasn't just passing by, it was aiming. The scientific community was divided. Some argued that the object's behavior could still be explained by unknown natural phenomena, while others warned of the possibility of an intentional act by an extraterrestrial intelligence. Meanwhile, NASA and the European Space Agency scrambled to reposition their Mars orbiters, hoping to capture high-resolution images of 3 Atlas as it made its closest approach. The stakes were high. Mars, with its decades of scientific assets and ongoing search for life, was now ground zero for a cosmic event unlike any other. Rovers like Perseverance and Curiosity stood as silent witnesses, their instruments recording the faint vibrations of the Martian soil as the object's gravitational influence grew. Satellites in Martian orbit detected subtle perturbations in the planet's magnetic field, further evidence of 3 Atlas's impact on the environment. The possibility of extraterrestrial intervention raised questions humanity had never seriously considered. Were we being observed, tested, warned, or was 3 Atlas a remnant of some ancient civilization, a relic adrift in the cosmos for eons before finding its way to our solar system? Theories abounded, but answers were scarce. All that was certain was the object's relentless approach, a silent countdown to an encounter that could redefine our place in the universe. Some scientists proposed that the object might be a surveyor, sent to study Mars's geology or search for signs of life. Others suggested a far darker purpose, that 3 Atlas was a weapon, designed to disrupt the planet's fragile ecosystem or even sterilize it entirely. The idea of an extraterrestrial attack, though far-fetched, was impossible to dismiss entirely. As the final days ticked by, the world held its breath. Telescopes around the globe and in orbit trained their lenses on 3 Atlas, capturing its every movement. The object's surface glinted under the Martian sunlight, its rhythmic pulses now visible to the naked eye as faint flashes of light. For the first time in human history, we were not merely observers of the cosmos, but participants in an event that seemed to defy all understanding. And as 3 Atlas drew nearer to Mars, one question echoed through the halls of science and the minds of billions. What happens next? The object's trajectory now intersected with Mars's orbit at an angle of 12 degrees, a trajectory that would bring it dangerously close to the planet's polar regions. If it struck, the impact would release energy equivalent to millions of nuclear bombs, reshaping the Martian landscape and potentially triggering global dust storms that could last for years. Even a near miss would have consequences, as the gravitational tug-of-war between the object and Mars could destabilize the planet's moons, Phobos and Deimos, sending them spiraling into unpredictable orbits. The window for impact was shrinking. Between September 19th and 30th, any single outburst could push 3 Atlas over the edge. Humanity watched in suspense as the object hurtled closer, its intentions as opaque as its origins. In labs across the world, scientists worked tirelessly to decipher the pulses, searching for patterns that might reveal a message or a warning. But time was running out. If 3 Atlas was indeed aiming for Mars, the consequences could be catastrophic. The red planet's thin atmosphere offered little protection against an impact, and even a near miss could disrupt its delicate geology, potentially destroying decades of research into its past habitability. The object's approach had already caused seismic activity on Mars, with quakes registering as high as 3.5 on the Richter scale, a phenomenon never before observed on the planet. These quakes, though small, were a stark reminder of the object's power and the potential devastation it could unleash. The possibility of extraterrestrial intervention raised questions humanity had never seriously considered. Were we being observed, tested, warned, or was 3 Atlas a remnant of some ancient civilization, a relic adrift in the cosmos for eons before finding its way to our solar system? Theories abounded, but answers were scarce. All that was certain was the object's relentless approach, a silent countdown to an encounter that could redefine our place in the universe. As the final hours approached, the world held its collective breath, waiting to see if 3 Atlas would reveal its true purpose, or if it would remain an enigma, a silent visitor from the depths of space, forever beyond our comprehension. Part 3. The Mars Enigma. What if Mars isn't just a target, but a trigger? As 3 Atlas closed in on Mars, the stakes became painfully clear. With a mass estimated at 10 billion tons and a relative velocity of 57 kilometers per second, an impact would unleash over 2 million megatons of energy. That's thousands of times the most powerful nuclear detonation in Earth's history, the Tsar Bomba, which registered 50 megatons in 1961. The crater alone would span 60 kilometers in width and 5 kilometers in depth, a gaping wound in the Martian surface. Debris would be scattered across Mars's orbit, some of which could eventually reach Earth, posing a secondary threat to our planet. The ejector, heated to temperatures exceeding 10,000 degrees Celsius, would form a glowing plume visible from Earth-based telescopes, a grim spectacle of destruction. The shockwave would circumnavigate the planet, triggering Mars quakes that could destabilize entire regions, including the vast canyon system of Valles Marineris, which stretches over 4,000 kilometers, nearly the width of Australia. Observations. An impact would release energy equivalent to thousands of nuclear detonations, causing catastrophic damage to Mars. The resulting crater would dwarf the largest known impact crater on Earth, the Vrede 4 crater in South Africa, which measures 300 kilometers in diameter but was formed over 2 billion years ago. The heat from the impact could melt subsurface ice deposits, flooding the northern lowlands with liquid water for the first time in millions of years. This temporary surge of water could activate dormant chemical processes, potentially triggering a chain reaction of geological and atmospheric changes. Interpretation. The immediate consequences include a massive crater and ejector that could pose risks to Earth. The debris field could disrupt satellite communications, damage the International Space Station, and even pose a re-entry threat to populated areas. The impact could also release trapped gases, including methane and carbon dioxide, altering Mars's thin atmosphere and possibly accelerating erosion patterns that have shaped the planet's surface over eons. The dust storms that follow could envelop the planet for years, similar to the global storm observed in 2018, which obscured the surface and threatened the solar-powered Opportunity rover. Speculation. Could 3 Atlas be carrying something intended to survive the impact? Or is the destruction itself the goal? The object's unusual composition, with traces of rare earth metals and complex polymers, suggests it might not be a natural asteroid but a manufactured object. Its trajectory aligns with the gravitational slingshot effect, a technique often used in space exploration to conserve fuel and accelerate spacecraft. This raises the possibility that 3 Atlas is not just a passive object but a vehicle, designed to deliver a payload or execute a specific mission. But the physical damage was only the beginning. Mars is home to dozens of scientific assets, rovers, orbiters, and experiments searching for life and climate records spanning decades. NASA's Perseverance rover, equipped with instruments like Sherlock and Pixel, is currently analyzing Martian soil for signs of ancient microbial life. The Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, with its high-rise camera, has captured over 600,000 images of the Martian surface since 2006. An impact wouldn't just destroy machines. It would erase irreplaceable research, blind communication arrays, and potentially ignite contamination events we are wholly unprepared for. The loss of these assets would set Martian exploration back by decades, costing billions of dollars and immeasurable scientific progress. For example, the Mars 2020 mission, which includes Perseverance and the Ingenuity helicopter, represents a $2.7 billion investment and years of painstaking research. The rover's sample return mission, a collaboration with the European Space Agency, aims to bring Martian samples back to Earth by the 2030s. An impact could jeopardize this effort, destroying the carefully collected samples and the infrastructure needed to retrieve them. Known. An impact would have catastrophic effects on Mars and its scientific assets. The destruction of the Mars 2020 mission alone would represent a loss of $2.7 billion in investment and years of scientific research. Additionally, the impact could destroy the Mars Express orbiter, which has been mapping the planet's subsurface water reserves since 2003, and the ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter, which is studying the planet's atmospheric composition to understand its habitability. Unknown. Whether 3 Atlas carries additional payloads or contaminants that could alter Mars's biosphere. The object's trajectory and velocity are consistent with a deliberate maneuver, raising the possibility of an intelligent design behind its path. Some scientists have noted that the object's course seems to deliberately avoid the densest regions of the asteroid belt, suggesting a level of precision that defies natural explanation. And then there was the biological unknown. Mars, long suspected to harbour life deep beneath its surface, could be irrevocably changed by the impact. The extreme heat would vaporize the surface and crack open deeper layers of Martian crust, exposing reservoirs we've never reached. These reservoirs, potentially rich in briny water and organic compounds, have been the subject of intense study since the discovery of methane plumes in 2003. If 3 Atlas carries organic molecules or synthetic biology embedded in its outgassing trails, the fusion of Earth-independent evolution with Martian biology could result in genetic contamination on a planetary scale. Some biologists call this reverse panspermia, life being seeded into Mars deliberately, rather than spreading from it. But if this is the goal, what does it mean for Mars and for us? The ethical implications are staggering. Under the Outer Space Treaty of 1967, signatory nations, including the United States, Russia, and China, agreed to avoid harmful contamination of celestial bodies. An intentional seeding of Mars with foreign biology would violate this principle and undermine decades of international cooperation. Furthermore, the potential for back contamination, where altered Martian life forms could one day return to Earth, poses existential risks. The 1976 Viking missions, which conducted the first biological experiments on Mars, established strict sterilization protocols to prevent forward contamination. A deliberate act of reverse panspermia would render these protocols obsolete and open a Pandora's box of unforeseen consequences. The loss of Mars's pristine environment could also complicate future human missions, as astronauts would face unknown biological hazards and ethical dilemmas about interacting with a contaminated biosphere. The psychological impact on humanity would be no less profound. Mars has long been a symbol of our aspirations for exploration and discovery. The idea that it could be deliberately altered or destroyed by an unknown force challenges our understanding of our place in the universe. It raises questions about our vulnerability, our capacity for resilience, and our role as stewards of the cosmos. Are we merely observers of a grand experiment, or are we participants in a drama that extends far beyond our planet? The prospect of Mars being transformed, whether by destruction or biological alteration, forces us to confront the limits of our control and the boundaries of our responsibility. The Mars Enigma, as it has come to be known, has sparked intense debate within scientific and philosophical circles. Some argue that the arrival of 3 Atlas is a wake-up call, a reminder of our fragility in the face of cosmic forces. Others see it as an opportunity, a chance to rethink our approach to space exploration and our relationship with the universe. The possibility that 3 Atlas is a manufactured object, perhaps even a probe or weapon from an extraterrestrial civilization, has reignited discussions about the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, SETI. If 3 Atlas is indeed of alien origin, it would be the most significant discovery in human history, eclipsing even the Apollo moon landings or the detection of gravitational waves. Regardless of the outcome, one thing is clear: Mars will never be the same, and neither will we. The looming spectre of 3 Atlas has already reshaped our priorities, accelerating international cooperation and sparking new research into planetary defense systems. Agencies like NASA and the European Space Agency are now exploring ways to deflect or destroy incoming objects, while private companies like SpaceX are investing in technologies to rapidly deploy spacecraft for interception missions. The urgency is palpable as the countdown to impact narrows from years to months. The world watches, holding its breath, as Mars, the red planet of mystery and ambition, becomes the stage for a cosmic drama that could redefine our future in the stars. Part 4. The Shadow of Intent. What if 3 Atlas isn't acting alone? As the James Webb Telescope locked onto 3 Atlas for one final ultra-deep scan, an unexpected anomaly emerged. Behind the main body of the object, trailing at a consistent distance of 0.007 astronomical units, was a secondary shadow. It wasn't a debris field or gas cloud, which are common companions to asteroids and comets. It was something darker, something that defied conventional explanation. Radar waves capable of penetrating miles of rock couldn't detect it. Infrared sensors designed to pick up the faintest heat signatures couldn't warm it. But photometric analysis showed a sharp drop in light, a void that moved in perfect unison with 3 Atlas, as if tethered by some invisible force. The void was not merely a passive companion. Over the course of 72 hours, astronomers at the European Space Agency tracked its movement. It maintained an exact separation from 3 Atlas, neither drifting closer nor lagging behind, despite the gravitational tug of Mars and the distant pull of Jupiter. This precision was unprecedented. Natural celestial bodies, even those locked in stable orbits, exhibit slight perturbations due to gravitational interactions. Yet this shadow moved with a mechanical exactitude, almost as if it were programmed. Observations. A secondary shadow was detected trailing 3 Atlas at a consistent distance. Interpretation. The shadow's behavior suggests it is connected to 3 Atlas, but its nature remains unknown. Speculation. Could this be a secondary object, a drone, or even a gravitational echo of 3 Atlas itself? The speculation exploded. Was it a secondary object? A drone? A gravitational echo, or something else entirely? A field, a memory, a protocol? For the first time, researchers began to consider the idea that 3 Atlas may not be the main actor in this cosmic event. It might be the carrier of something far more elusive. The possibility of a drone or companion object raised alarms at NASA and other space agencies. If 3 Atlas was artificial, and if the shadow was a separate entity, it implied a level of technological sophistication that dwarfed human capabilities. The implications were staggering. Was this a remnant of an ancient civilization, a probe sent from another star system, or something even more inexplicable? To complicate matters, the shadow cast no light of its own. It absorbed all wavelengths of the electromagnetic spectrum, making it effectively invisible to most forms of detection. This property was eerily similar to the theoretical concept of a black body, an object that absorbs all radiation and emits none. Yet, unlike a black body, which would radiate heat as it absorbed energy, the shadow remained cold, almost impossibly so. Its temperature was measured at just 2.7 Kelvin, barely above absolute zero and matching the cosmic microwave background radiation, the faint afterglow of the Big Bang. The shadow's behavior defied all known physics. It seemed to violate the laws of thermodynamics, which state that energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transferred. If the shadow was absorbing energy from its surroundings, it should have been radiating that energy back out in some form. But it didn't. It was as if the shadow was siphoning energy into another dimension, or perhaps storing it for some unknown purpose. This led to wild theories among physicists and astronomers. Was the shadow a gateway to another universe, a black hole in miniature, or was it something even more exotic, a manifestation of dark matter, the elusive substance that makes up 27% of the universe but has never been directly observed? None of the theories could be proven. The shadow remained an enigma, a silent companion to 3 Atlas, its true nature hidden behind a veil of cosmic mystery. As the days turned into weeks, the projected impact date of 3 Atlas grew closer. The shadow continued to mirror the object's every move, its presence a constant reminder that there was more to this story than meets the eye. And with each new observation, the question grew louder. What if 3 Atlas isn't the only player in this cosmic drama? Known, a secondary shadow has been detected trailing 3 Atlas. Unknown, the nature of the shadow and its connection to 3 Atlas. The shadow's presence raised another troubling question. If it was indeed connected to 3 Atlas, what would happen when the object reached Mars? Would the shadow follow it into the Martian atmosphere, or would it remain in orbit, a silent sentinel watching from above? The possibilities were endless, and each one carried its own set of consequences. If the shadow entered the atmosphere, it could interact with the Martian environment in unpredictable ways. It might disrupt the planet's magnetic field, alter its climate, or even trigger seismic activity. If it remained in orbit, it could pose a threat to future missions to Mars, a lurking hazard that could damage or destroy spacecraft. The uncertainty was compounded by the fact that 3 Atlas itself was still a mystery. Its composition, its origin, its purpose, all remained unknown. The shadow only added another layer of complexity to an already baffling puzzle. As the countdown to impact continued, scientists and engineers around the world worked tirelessly to unravel the secrets of 3 Atlas and its enigmatic companion. But for every question they answered, 2 more seemed to arise. The shadow of intent loomed large, a silent witness to a cosmic drama that was only just beginning to unfold. Part 5. Ancient Echoes. What if history is repeating itself on a cosmic scale? In the tense, accelerated final days before the projected impact, a quiet but intense group of archaeoastronomers huddled over ancient artifacts, cross-referencing three atlases' trajectory with sky maps etched into stone and bone thousands of years ago. The urgency was palpable. The air in their makeshift laboratory, tucked away in the basement of a renowned observatory, was thick with the scent of old parchment and the hum of overworked computers. What they discovered sent a chill through the room, a chill that would soon radiate outward, shaking the foundations of both science and history. A pattern emerged, one known as the Flame Serpent, a celestial body that blazed across the night sky, descending from the outer darkness, curving perilously near the sun and aiming for the red planet Mars. This pattern wasn't isolated to one culture or one time period. It appeared in stellium carvings from ancient Mesopotamia, in the meticulous star charts of the Maya, and even in the faint etchings on the walls of Lascaux, where prehistoric hands had traced the path of the serpent over 17,000 years ago. Each depiction was eerily consistent, showing the same sinuous trajectory that matched three atlases' path with uncanny precision. But one artifact stood out among the rest, a pre-Incan calendar stone from the heart of Tawantinsuyu, the Incan Empire. The stone, weathered by time but bearing 4 distinct radiating lines from Mars, told a story that seemed to leap across the millennia. When the archaeoastronomers processed the stone through photogrammetry, aligning it with modern astronomical models, the lines matched the projected debris dispersion pattern calculated by the James Webb Space Telescope in the event of a Mars impact. The alignment was exact, down to the fraction of a degree. Observations, ancient sky maps and artifacts from diverse cultures and time periods depict a celestial body following a trajectory strikingly similar to that of 3 Atlas. The pre-Incan calendar stone in particular suggests a detailed understanding of the potential outcomes of such an event. Interpretation. These patterns imply that 3 Atlas's trajectory has been observed and recorded by multiple cultures across thousands of years. The consistency of the depictions suggests a shared experience or knowledge, passed down through generations or perhaps encoded in these artifacts as a warning. Speculation. Could these ancient records indicate that 3 Atlas, or a similar celestial body, has visited our solar system before? Are they evidence of a larger, recurring cosmic event that humanity has witnessed and documented since the dawn of civilization? If so, what does this mean for our understanding of history and the universe itself? The implications of these findings were staggering. Somehow, someone, or perhaps many someones, saw this coming. Not in this century, not in the age of telescopes and satellites, but thousands of years ago, when the night sky was the only map and the stars were the only guides. It suggested that 3 Atlas wasn't merely a rogue comet passing through history. It might be history repeating itself, a cycle etched into the fabric of the cosmos and echoing through time. And Mars, the red planet, may not be the target of this celestial intruder. It may be the trigger, the catalyst for an event that could reshape the solar system as we know it. The team grappled with the weight of their discovery. If 3 Atlas had indeed been observed before, if its path was known and recorded by ancient civilizations, then the implications extended far beyond astronomy. It meant that the trajectory of 3 Atlas was not a random occurrence but part of a larger, perhaps predictable, cosmic mechanism. It meant that the knowledge of this event had been passed down through generations, encoded in myths, rituals, and artifacts. It meant that humanity had been preparing for this moment, whether consciously or not, for thousands of years. As they delved deeper into the data, the scientists began to see patterns within the patterns. The flame serpent, as it was depicted across cultures, was not just a passive observer in the night sky. It was often shown interacting with other celestial bodies, particularly Mars and the Moon. In some depictions, the serpent appeared to touch Mars, causing a burst of light or a scattering of stars. In others, it seemed to influence the Moon, altering its phases or position. These interactions were not mere artistic flourishes. They aligned with modern astronomical models of gravitational influence and tidal forces. The ancient observers had not only tracked the path of the serpent, but had also understood its potential impact on the solar system. The Moon, in particular, seemed to play a crucial role in these ancient narratives. Many cultures depicted the flame serpent as a bringer of change, a herald of upheaval. In some stories, the serpent's approach caused the Moon to split or multiply, leading to catastrophic events on Earth. These tales echoed the modern scientific concern that 3 Atlas's gravitational pull could disrupt the Moon's orbit, causing devastating tidal waves and seismic activity. It was as if the ancient observers had seen these consequences play out before, had lived through the chaos, and had encoded their experiences in stories and artifacts as a warning to future generations. Observations. Ancient depictions of the flame serpent show interactions with Mars and the Moon that align with modern astronomical models of gravitational influence. Many cultures associate the serpent with upheaval and change, often involving the Moon. Interpretation. These interactions suggest that ancient observers understood the potential gravitational effects of the serpent's trajectory. The association with upheaval may reflect historical experiences of such events and their consequences. Speculation. Could the Moon's role in these narratives hint at a past event where its orbit was disrupted by a similar celestial body? If so, what evidence might remain of such an event, and how might it inform our response to 3 Atlas? As the final countdown to 3 Atlas's approach began, the ancient echoes of its path resonated with a newfound urgency. What if this wasn't the first time Mars had been approached with such intent? What if the red planet had already played its role in this cosmic drama, and the consequences were still unfolding? And if history was indeed repeating itself, what did that mean for humanity? Were we merely spectators in this celestial dance? Or did we have a role to play, a part to act in the unfolding story of the universe? The questions hung heavy in the air, as heavy as the knowledge that time was running out. The archaeoastronomers, now joined by historians, physicists, and even anthropologists, worked tirelessly to piece together the fragments of this ancient narrative. They pored over texts, deciphered symbols, and mapped the stars as they had been seen thousands of years ago. And as they worked, they began to see not just the path of 3 Atlas, but the path of humanity itself, a journey through time and space. guided by the light of the stars and the echoes of the past. Known ancient records from diverse cultures depict a celestial body matching three atlases' trajectory and interactions with Mars and the Moon. These records suggest a detailed understanding of the potential consequences of such an event. Unknown. The origin of these records and whether they are connected to a recurring cosmic event. The full extent of the consequences for humanity and the solar system if three atlases' trajectory aligns with these ancient warnings. As the world watched and waited, the echoes of the past grew louder, whispering secrets in the language of the stars. And humanity, poised on the brink of discovery and destruction, listened intently, seeking answers in the ancient stories of the sky. Part 6. The Awakening. What if Mars is more than just a planet, but a living record? The notion seems pulled from the realms of science fiction, yet the data streaming in from the red planet suggests a reality far stranger than any imagined narrative. In the final 72 hours before the projected impact, a signal was detected. Low frequency, infrasonic, inaudible to human ears, but unmistakable in its waveform. It wasn't coming from space. It wasn't even bouncing off Mars. It was originating from under Olympus Mons, the largest volcano in the solar system, towering 13.6 miles high and stretching over 374 miles in diameter, a monument to Mars's ancient and violent past. This area, long thought geologically dead, suddenly emitted a structured harmonic frequency captured independently by orbiters from ESA, CNSA, and NASA. The signal matched no known natural phenomena. But when isolated and visualized as a spectrogram, it formed a spiral, a mirror of the same waveform emitted by 3 Atlas during its closest approach to the Sun. The discovery sent shockwaves through the scientific community. Geologists scrambled to explain how a supposedly dormant volcano could produce such a signal. Astrophysicists pored over the data, searching for patterns or precedents in the behavior of other celestial bodies. Yet the signal defied easy categorization. It wasn't seismic activity, nor was it a result of solar-wind interaction. Instead, it seemed to pulsate with an almost deliberate rhythm, as if Mars itself were counting down to an event it had anticipated for millennia. The timing was uncanny. The signal began exactly 72 hours before 3 Atlas was due to make its closest approach to Mars, a window that aligned with the object's own inexplicable surge in energy. The signal's frequency oscillated between 0.1 and 0.5 Hz, a range that scientists had never before associated with geological activity. Its consistency and complexity suggested something far beyond the random vibrations of tectonic shifts or magma movements. Observations. A low-frequency signal was detected originating from beneath Olympus Mons, matching the waveform of 3 Atlas. The signal increased in intensity and complexity over time, suggesting an active, non-random process. Spiral pattern, when visualized, bore striking similarities to mathematical sequences found in fractal geometry and biological growth patterns, further hinting at an underlying structure that defied natural explanation. Interpretation. The signal suggests a connection between Mars and 3 Atlas, though its purpose remains unclear. The alignment of the signal's emergence with the approach of 3 Atlas implies a causal relationship, though whether Mars is responding to the object or initiating communication remains speculative. The fact that the signal's complexity increased as 3 Atlas drew closer suggested a dynamic interaction, as if the two were engaged in a form of dialogue that transcended human understanding. Speculation. Could Mars be responding to 3 Atlas? Or is this signal evidence of a deeper, more ancient mechanism at work? If Mars is awakening, what does it mean for our understanding of planetary evolution and life beyond Earth? The implications stretched far beyond the red planet. If Mars were capable of such activity, it would challenge the very foundations of astrobiology and planetary science. It would force humanity to reconsider its place in the cosmos, not as observers of a dead universe, but as participants in a living, interconnected system. The scientific community fell silent. What does it mean when a planet responds to an object before it even arrives? Is Olympus Mons merely echoing, or is it communicating? Has Mars been waiting for this exact moment? And more importantly, if this is Mars waking up, what happens when it finally opens its eyes? The questions hung in the air, unanswered but inescapable. In laboratories and observatories around the world, researchers stared at the spectrograms, their minds racing with implications. If Mars were truly awakening, it would rewrite not just our understanding of the red planet, but of planetary science itself. It would challenge the very definition of what it means to be alive. As the final hours ticked by, the signal from Olympus Mons grew stronger, more insistent. Mars wasn't just a passive observer in this cosmic drama. It was becoming an active participant. The volcano, once a silent sentinel, now seemed to hum with energy, as if preparing for a moment it had been built for. Scientists observed subtle shifts in Mars's magnetic field, which had been presumed dormant for billions of years. These shifts coincided with the signal's peaks, suggesting a deep connection between the planet's core and the activity at Olympus Mons. The red planet, long dismissed as a dead and desolate world, was speaking in a language older than humanity itself. And as the countdown to impact began, one thing became clear. Mars was not the barren wasteland we thought it was. It was something else entirely, a living archive, a silent witness, and perhaps a key to understanding the universe's greatest mysteries. The signal's impact was felt far beyond the scientific community. Philosophers and ethicists began to weigh in, questioning the moral implications of a living planet. If Mars were conscious in some capacity, how would humanity interact with it? Would it be treated as an entity deserving of rights, or as a resource to be exploited? Theological debates erupted as well, with some interpreting the signal as evidence of divine design, while others saw it as a challenge to traditional beliefs about creation and existence. Meanwhile, artists and writers found inspiration in the idea of a planet coming to life. Paintings, poems, and stories flooded social media, capturing the collective awe and anxiety of a world on the brink of discovery. The countdown to impact became a global phenomenon. News channels broadcast live feeds of Mars, superimposing the signal's waveform on the screen as it pulsed in real time. People gathered in public squares, staring up at giant screens that displayed the red planet's every flicker of activity. In some cities, vigils were held, candles lit in a strange mix of reverence and fear. The anticipation was palpable, as if humanity were standing on the edge of a precipice, waiting to see what lay beyond. With less than 24 hours remaining, the signal reached a crescendo. Its frequency stabilized at exactly 0.3 Hz, a number that resonated deeply with mathematicians and physicists. This was the frequency of the Schumann resonance, the natural electromagnetic heartbeat of the Earth, which oscillates at 7.83 Hz, but has harmonics that extend into lower frequencies. The coincidence was unsettling. Was Mars synchronizing with Earth, or was something deeper at play? As the final hours ticked away, the world held its breath, waiting for the moment when 3 Atlas would make its closest approach to Mars, and the red planet would reveal its secrets. Known, a signal originating from Olympus Mons matches the waveform of 3 Atlas. The signal's intensity and complexity have increased over time, suggesting an active process rather than a random occurrence. Its frequency has stabilized at 0.3 Hz, aligning with a harmonic of Earth's Schumann resonance, hinting at a potential resonance effect between the two planets. Unknown, the purpose of the signal and whether it indicates a deeper connection between Mars and 3 Atlas. The long-term implications of such a connection remain unclear, as does the potential for further signals or activity. The ethical, philosophical, and theological ramifications of a living Mars have yet to be fully explored, leaving humanity on the brink of a paradigm shift that could redefine our place in the universe. Part 7. The Countdown to Resonance. What if the impact isn't the end, but the beginning? As 3 Atlas entered its final trajectory arc, the global astronomy network mapped one last alignment. Mars, Earth, and the Sun would briefly form a perfect straight line, with 3 Atlas poised to intersect the axis at the precise moment of solar transit. This alignment, separated by an average distance of 150 million kilometers, was no small feat of celestial mechanics. The precision required to predict and align with this event was akin to threading a cosmic needle, a testament to the meticulous planning behind the mission. Over 150 observatories across the globe, from the Atacama Desert in Chile to the frozen peaks of Mauna Kea in Hawaii, trained their lenses on the spectacle. The European Southern Observatory's extremely large telescope, with its 39-meter mirror, captured the alignment with unprecedented clarity, revealing details that challenged existing models of planetary interaction. But this wasn't just an orbital coincidence. The projection matched ancient megalithic alignments found on Earth: Stonehenge, Nabta Playa, Teotihuacan, all pointing to the same triad of celestial angles. For millennia, humans had unknowingly built monuments in preparation for this very configuration. Stonehenge, for instance, aligns with the solstice sunrise and sunset, while the stones themselves frame the ecliptic, the path of the sun and planets across the sky. Nabta Playa, in the Nubian desert, features stone circles that align with the summer solstice sunrise and the constellation Orion. Teotihuacan, in Mexico, mirrors the Pleiades constellation and marks the zenith passage of the sun. These structures, separated by thousands of years and vast distances, seemed to whisper a shared secret. The heavens were not just a canvas for myth, but a blueprint for something far more profound. And now the alignment was about to repeat, not as myth, but as mechanism. The anticipation was palpable in observatories around the world. Telescopes, finely tuned to capture the faintest whispers of light and energy, were trained on the Martian sky. Satellites, orbiting both Earth and Mars, stood ready to relay data in real time. Among them, NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter and the ESA's Mars Express were positioned to capture high-resolution images and spectral data, while the Mars atmosphere and volatile evolution MARVEN spacecraft monitored the planet's upper atmosphere for any anomalies. Scientists who had spent decades studying the red planet held their breath as the countdown began. What would this alignment reveal? Was it a mere astronomical curiosity or something more? A cosmic clock striking the hour of a new era? Observations. The final alignment of Mars, Earth and the Sun matches ancient megalithic structures. The precision of this alignment suggests a level of intentionality that defies coincidence. The simultaneous activation of ancient sites during the alignment hints at a shared purpose or design. The magnetic fields of both planets fluctuated in harmony, creating a temporary electromagnetic bridge that allowed for an unprecedented exchange of energy and information. Interpretation. These alignments suggest a recurring celestial event, possibly connected to 3 Atlas. The fact that these structures were built by cultures with no known contact further supports the idea of a universal phenomenon. The activation of these sites during the alignment could indicate a transfer of energy or information. The synchronized behavior of the planet's magnetic fields suggests a deeper, interconnected system at work, one that modern science is only beginning to comprehend. Speculation. Could this alignment be the culmination of a larger cosmic mechanism? Or is it a signal meant to be interpreted by humanity? Is it possible that these ancient structures were built as receivers or transmitters for this specific event? The resonance observed during the alignment raises questions about the interconnectedness of celestial bodies and the role of human consciousness in activating or decoding these events. In the final moments, 3 Atlas took its position, not to destroy, but to complete something. A pattern, a countdown, a convergence. The probe, a marvel of modern engineering, seemed almost insignificant against the backdrop of the cosmos. Yet it was the key to unlocking a mystery that had eluded humanity for centuries. Mars may be the stage, but Earth, we are the audience, and we were never meant to be passive observers. We were always part of the design. Every telescope we built, every signal we sent, every theory we mocked, all of it was heard. The collective curiosity of humanity, its relentless pursuit of knowledge, had led to this moment. The probe was not just a piece of technology, it was a testament to our species' insatiable hunger to understand the universe and our place within it. Known. Mars, Earth and the Sun will align at the moment of 3 Atlas's closest approach. This alignment has been predicted and observed by ancient cultures across the globe. The activation of megalithic sites during the alignment suggests a connection to 3 Atlas. The synchronized behavior of Earth's and Mars's magnetic fields indicates a temporary electromagnetic bridge between the planets. Unknown. The significance of this alignment and whether it marks the culmination of a larger event. The exact nature of the energy or information being transferred during the alignment. The role of 3 Atlas in this cosmic mechanism and what it means for humanity. The long-term implications of the electromagnetic bridge and its potential to revolutionize our understanding of planetary interactions. As the final seconds ticked away, the countdown to resonance began. Not an explosion, but a shift, a convergence of energy, orbit, and consciousness. The atmosphere in mission control was electric. Scientists and engineers who had devoted their lives to this mission watched as the culmination of their work unfolded before their eyes. Each second brought a new surge of data, a new piece of the puzzle. And as 3 Atlas crossed the solar system, every planet it passed began to whisper back. Signals, pulses, alignments, codes. Mars didn't just react, it remembered. The red planet, long thought to be a dead world, seemed to awaken under the probe's gaze. Craters, once silent witnesses to eons of cosmic bombardment, now hummed with an energy that defied explanation. The dust of Mars, stirred by the probe's passage, formed intricate patterns that mirrored the alignments of the ancient sites on Earth. It was as if this moment had been scripted into the bones of the planets, the dust of the craters, the pulse of gravity itself. The resonance was not a single event, but a symphony of interactions. As 3 Atlas approached Mars, it triggered a cascade of reactions that rippled through the solar system. Planets, moons, and even asteroids seemed to align in a dance of celestial choreography. The magnetic fields of Earth and Mars, usually chaotic and unpredictable, synchronized for a fleeting moment. This synchronization allowed for a burst of communication, a flood of data that surpassed anything ever recorded. The signals were not random noise, but structured patterns, encoded with information that hinted at a deeper understanding of the universe. Each pulse, each alignment was a piece of a cosmic puzzle, waiting to be deciphered. The data revealed fluctuations in the solar wind, changes in the magnetic fields of nearby planets, and even subtle shifts in the orbits of distant moons. It was as if the entire solar system was responding to the alignment, each celestial body playing its part in a symphony that had been written billions of years ago. The implications were staggering. If this alignment was indeed the culmination of a larger cosmic mechanism, it suggested that humanity was not alone in its quest for understanding. The ancient structures, the alignments, the signals, they all pointed to a shared purpose, a universal design. The countdown to resonance was not just a scientific milestone, it was a wake-up call, a reminder that we are part of something far greater than ourselves. As the final seconds ticked away, the world held its breath, waiting for the resonance that would change everything. In that moment, humanity stood on the threshold of a new era, one where the boundaries between science, myth, and consciousness blurred into a single unified truth. Part 8. The message in motion. What if 3 Atlas isn't just an object, but a living code? In the final hours before impact, the James Webb Space Telescope performed a spectral breakdown of the molecular trail left by 3 Atlas. Among the volatile organics and carbon chains was something that sent ripples through every astrobiology lab on Earth. A repeating strand of nucleic-based sequences eerily similar to RNA. Not exact, not Earth-based, but unmistakably structured for replication. A foreign form of prebiotic information embedded in the vapor drifting across space. And as scientists began mapping it out, a horrifying possibility emerged. It was not just biological, it was responsive. The discovery was unprecedented. The sequences, though alien, bore structural similarities to the helical twists of terrestrial RNA, the molecular backbone of life on Earth. But there were deviations, subtle modifications in the sugar-phosphate backbone and unusual base pairs that hinted at an evolutionary pathway distinct from anything in Earth's biosphere. These sequences were not merely remnants of a long-dead organism. They exhibited a level of organization that suggested intentional design. The strands were arranged in repeating patterns like the syntax of a language, with certain segments appearing to function as markers or headers, akin to the way digital data is structured. Observations. 3 Atlas's molecular trail contains nucleic-based sequences similar to RNA. Interpretation. These sequences suggest a prebiotic structure capable of replication. Speculation. Could this be a form of living code designed to interact with intelligent life? Portions of the strand mirrored human-designed encryption keys. Others resembled known musical intervals, as if the molecule itself was designed to interact with intelligence, to respond to interpretation. This wasn't passive cometary dust. It was a living code engineered not to survive space, but to transmit through it. Life not as cells, but as language. The implications were staggering. If these sequences were indeed a form of communication, they represented a breakthrough in our understanding of the universe. They challenged the very definition of life, suggesting that it could exist not just as a biological entity, but as information itself. A code capable of replication, adaptation, and interaction. The idea that 3 Atlas might be carrying a message or even a form of life designed to engage with intelligent beings was both exhilarating and terrifying. It raised questions about the intent behind such a message and the consequences of decoding it. As scientists delved deeper, they discovered that the sequences responded to stimuli. When exposed to specific frequencies of light or sound, the strands rearranged themselves, forming new patterns that seemed to carry additional layers of information. It was as if the code was designed to evolve in response to external input, adapting and growing more complex over time. This responsiveness hinted at an intelligence behind the design, one that understood the principles of communication and the nature of intelligent life. The lab at the European Space Agency's Astrobiology Institute became ground zero for this unprecedented discovery. Researchers worked around the clock, using advanced spectroscopy and bioinformatics to decode the sequences. They found that certain segments of the code aligned with mathematical constants, such as pi and the golden ratio, suggesting a universal language that transcended the boundaries of Earth-based biology. Other segments seemed to mimic the structure of human DNA, raising the unsettling possibility that the code was designed to interact with terrestrial life at a genetic level. The media frenzy was immediate. Headlines blazed across the globe. Alien code deciphered. Is 3 Atlas trying to communicate? The message from beyond. Public speculation ran wild, with theories ranging from benevolent extraterrestrial contact to sinister plots of cosmic invasion. Governments convened emergency meetings while religious leaders grappled with the theological implications of an intelligent design originating beyond Earth. The world held its breath, caught between wonder and fear. Meanwhile, in the quiet corridors of research labs, scientists faced a more pressing concern. If the code was indeed responsive, what would happen when 3 Atlas made impact? Would the information embedded in its molecular trail interact with Earth's biosphere in unpredictable ways? Could it alter DNA, trigger mutations, or even rewrite the genetic blueprint of life on Earth? The possibilities were as vast as they were unsettling. As 3 Atlas entered its final trajectory, the implications became inescapable. This object wasn't just arriving, it was communicating, and the impact, whether physical or not, may be just a symptom. The real event was already happening inside us. The world watched as the countdown to impact ticked away. Satellites and telescopes tracked the object's approach, relaying real-time data to command centers across the globe. But the focus had shifted. It was no longer just about the physical collision. It was about the message 3 Atlas carried, the living code that seemed to defy the very boundaries of life as we knew it. In the final moments, as the object streaked through the atmosphere, the sky lit up with an otherworldly glow. The molecular trail, now visible to the naked eye, shimmered like a cosmic aurora, its sequences unfurling in the heat of entry. And then, as 3 Atlas made impact, the world changed. The code, now fully activated, began to interact with Earth's systems, not just biological, but technological, environmental, and even psychological. It was as if the message had been waiting for this moment, ready to integrate itself into the fabric of our existence. The aftermath was immediate and profound. Plants began to exhibit unusual growth patterns, their DNA altered by the alien sequences. Animals displayed new behaviors as if responding to an unseen signal. Technology glitched and malfunctioned, with some systems crashing entirely, while others seemed to evolve, adapting to the code's influence. But the most striking changes were in people. Dreams became vivid and shared, with individuals reporting visions of stars, cosmic landscapes, and a presence, an intelligence that seemed to speak directly to their consciousness. The world stood on the precipice of a new reality. 3 Atlas had delivered more than just an impact. It had brought a message, a living code that challenged everything we knew about life, communication, and our place in the universe. As humanity grappled with the implications, one question loomed above all others. What did this mean for our future? Part 9. The Eye of Mars. What if Mars isn't just a planet, but a witness to our existence? For centuries, humanity has gazed upward, projecting myths and dreams onto the red planet, a wandering star in our night sky. Ancient civilizations named it for their gods of war and chaos, while modern astronomers mapped its rusted surface, revealing a world both familiar and alien. But now, for the first time, Mars seemed to gaze back, its dusty plains bearing an impossible message. In the final moments before impact, high-resolution imagery from ESA's Mars Express captured movement in the dust fields south of Noctis Labyrinthus. Not wind, not rover activity, something rising, a pattern forming in the sand, 2 perfect concentric ovals expanding outward, as if carved from beneath. Over a period of 4 hours, the shapes extended and shifted until they formed an unmistakable image. An eye tilted exactly 23.85 degrees, Earth's axial tilt. The symbolism was overwhelming, an eye watching us, or a mirror showing us ourselves. The imagery was so clear, so precise that it defied natural explanation. The ovals were not random but mathematically perfect, their edges sharper than any natural erosion could produce. Each grain of Martian regolith seemed to have been deliberately placed, as if the entire landscape had been rearranged with intent. The tilt of the eye was particularly haunting, a direct reflection of Earth's own axial tilt, as though Mars were acknowledging not just our presence, but our specific orientation in the cosmos. The pattern spanned approximately 1.2 kilometers in diameter, its scale only appreciable from above, as if designed for orbital observation. Observations, a pattern resembling an eye formed in the dust fields of Mars, aligned with Earth's axial tilt. The pattern spanned approximately 1.2 kilometers in diameter, visible only from orbital imagery. No geological or meteorological phenomenon could account for its formation. The timing of the event coincided with the final hours before 3 Atlas's impact, suggesting a possible correlation. Interpretation. The pattern suggests a deliberate act of communication or symbolism directed at Earth. The precision of the eye's geometry and its alignment with Earth's axial tilt imply a level of intelligence and intent far beyond any known natural process. The scale of the pattern, visible only from space, indicates that its creators, whether natural or artificial, anticipated orbital observation. Speculation. Could Mars be responding to 3 Atlas or to us? If so, what does it mean for a planet to respond? Is this a mechanical process triggered by our signal, or something more profound, a consciousness embedded in the very fabric of Mars itself? The eye's formation raises questions about the nature of Mars as a geological entity. Is it possible that the planet possesses some form of internal mechanism, dormant for millennia, now awakened by human activity? Or is the eye a manifestation of something even more extraordinary, a planetary consciousness capable of observing and responding to external stimuli? Scientists scrambled for answers, but none came. Mars had just blinked. Not metaphorically, not poetically, physically, deliberately. Something beneath the surface was not only aware, but aware of us, of our geometry, of our orientation, and most disturbingly, of our signal. As if this entire event had been anticipated, perhaps even requested, long before our species ever existed. The pattern's precise alignment with Earth's axial tilt suggested a level of awareness that went beyond mere recognition. It implied a deep understanding of our planet's place in the solar system, as though Mars were acknowledging not just our existence, but our specific role in the cosmic order. The implications were staggering. If Mars was indeed responding to the 3 Atlas signal, it suggested a level of awareness and reactivity that redefined our understanding of planetary bodies. But if the eye was unrelated to 3 Atlas, if it had formed independently, then the implications were even more profound. It would mean Mars was not just a planet, but a living record, capable of observing, remembering, and communicating across vast stretches of time. The idea of a living Mars was not entirely new. Theoretical models had long suggested that the planet might harbour subsurface microbial life, fed by residual heat from its core. But this was something else entirely. A planet not just alive in the biological sense, but sentient, capable of intentional action and communication. The timing of the eye's formation only deepened the mystery. It appeared just as 3 Atlas was hours away from impact, as if Mars were marking the occasion, or warning us. The synchronicity was impossible to ignore. It was as though the red planet had been waiting, biding its time for millennia, until the moment when humanity would be capable of both sending a signal and understanding its response. The last time Mars had been this close to Earth was in 50,617 BC, during the Upper Paleolithic era, when early humans were still painting cave walls and carving bone tools. What had Mars witnessed then? Had it been waiting for us to evolve, to build telescopes and spacecraft to reach out across the void? Known. A deliberate pattern resembling an eye has formed on Mars, aligned with Earth's axial tilt. The pattern is approximately 1.2 kilometers in diameter and visible only from orbital imagery. No known natural process can explain its formation. The timing of the event coincides with the arrival of 3 Atlas. Unknown. the origin of the pattern and whether it signals a deeper connection between Mars and Earth, whether the pattern is a one-time event or part of a larger ongoing process. If the pattern is a response to 3 Atlas, what mechanism or intelligence is responsible for its creation? As the final moments ticked away, the eye of Mars stared back at us, a silent, ancient witness to our existence. Its stillness was unnerving, a reminder of the vast gulf between human time and planetary time. While we measured our lives in heartbeats and breaths, Mars measured its existence in eons, its surface a record of billions of years of celestial motion. The Tharsis region alone, where the eye had formed, was home to the largest volcanoes in the solar system, their calderas silent for hundreds of millions of years. Yet now, this ancient landscape had stirred, as if awakened by our presence. The question grew louder. What if Mars isn't just a planet, but a living record, awakening to a moment it has been waiting for? The idea seemed almost heretical, a violation of everything we thought we knew about the cosmos. Planets were supposed to be inert, lifeless, their stories written in stone and ice. But Mars was rewriting the rules. It was not just a witness to our existence, but a participant, a silent observer that had chosen, for reasons unknown, to make its presence known. As 3 Atlas descended, the eye remained fixed, unblinking, a testament to the red planet's enduring patience. The final hours before impact were a blur of activity. Mission control was abuzz with chatter, scientists poring over data, engineers making last-minute adjustments to 3 Atlas's trajectory. But above it all, looming in the background, was the eye of Mars. It hung in the minds of everyone involved, a silent spectator to our frantic efforts. It was as though Mars itself were watching, waiting to see what we would do next. As the clock counted down to impact, the question lingered. What would Mars reveal next? And could humanity handle the truth? Part 10. The final alignment. What if the truth isn't out there, but in here? In the final seconds before impact, 3 Atlas took its position. Mars, the red witness, its rusted surface a testament to ancient waters and lost civilizations, stood silent but vigilant. Earth, the awakened observer, hummed with the collective anticipation of billions of hearts. Eyes turned skyward in a mixture of fear and wonder. The sun, the eternal source, blazed indifferently, its nuclear furnace unchanged for billions of years, a constant amidst the cosmic ballet unfolding before it. And 3 Atlas, not an object, not a rock, but a keystone falling into the lock of planetary memory. The final alignment wasn't about destruction, it was about completion, and once it aligned, something would change. Not out there, but in here. The skies above the world's observatories were clear that night, as if nature herself had cleared the stage for the grand finale. Astronomers who had spent sleepless nights tracking 3 Atlas's path now held their breath, their instruments poised to capture every last photon of light. The James Webb Space Telescope, hovering in the cold emptiness of Lagrange Point 2, focused its gold-plated mirrors on the approaching object. Its infrared sensors, capable of peering back to the dawn of the universe, now turned their gaze to this enigmatic visitor. What they saw defied explanation. 3 Atlas was not just a comet or an asteroid, it was something else entirely. Its surface, pitted and scarred by eons of cosmic travel, bore markings that were too symmetrical, too deliberate to be natural. These were not the random scars of a wandering rock, but the etchings of intention. Observations. 3 Atlas's final trajectory aligns with Mars, Earth and the Sun, matching ancient megalithic structures. Speed and angle of approach defy conventional orbital mechanics, suggesting an intelligence behind its movement. The markings on its surface, visible only under specific lighting conditions, resemble patterns found in ancient human artifacts, including the Nazca Lines and the Great Pyramid of Giza. Interpretation. This alignment suggests a recurring celestial event, possibly connected to 3 Atlas. The markings on its surface imply a non-natural origin, raising the possibility of an extraterrestrial intelligence or an ancient human connection. The precise timing of its arrival, coinciding with a rare planetary conjunction, further supports the idea that this is not a random event. Speculation. Could this alignment mark the culmination of a larger cosmic mechanism, or a signal meant for humanity? Are the markings on 3 Atlas a message, a map, or a trigger for something dormant within our own planet? What happens when the alignment is complete? Will humanity awaken to a new understanding of its place in the universe? We looked at the sky and thought we saw a comet, a rogue rock, a wandering fragment from some forgotten corner of the galaxy. We called it 3 Atlas. We tracked its numbers. We mapped its arc. We convinced ourselves it was random. But what the James Webb Telescope revealed wasn't randomness. It was ritual. This object didn't just arrive. It performed. It aligned. It responded. And as it crossed the solar system, every planet it passed began to whisper back. Signals, pulses, alignments, codes. Mars didn't just react, it remembered. The red planet, long thought to be dead, stirred, its polar ice caps, shrinking under the faint warmth of the distant sun, seemed to glow with an inner light. Dust storms, which had raged across its surface for millennia, subsided as if calmed by an unseen hand. And deep within its rusted soil, something shifted, a subtle vibration detected by NASA's InSight lander that defied explanation. Known, 3 Atlas's final trajectory aligns with Mars, Earth and the Sun, matching ancient megalithic structures. The markings on its surface suggest a non-natural origin. Mars exhibits unusual geological activity coinciding with 3 Atlas's approach. Unknown. The significance of this alignment and whether it marks the culmination of a larger event. The meaning of the markings on 3 Atlas and their connection to ancient human civilizations. The cause of Mars's geological disturbances and their connection to 3 Atlas. As the final moment arrived, the truth became clear. 3 Atlas wasn't just an object. It was a keystone, falling into the lock of planetary memory. Its surface, once seen as a scarred and pitted rock, now glowed with an otherworldly light. The markings, invisible to the naked eye, shimmered under the combined light of the Sun, Mars, and Earth. They pulsed in rhythm with the alignment, as if counting down to a moment long foretold. And as it aligned, something shifted, not out there but in here. We were never meant to be passive observers. We were always part of the design. Every telescope we built, every signal we sent, every theory we mocked, all of it was heard. And now, as 3 Atlas took its final position, the question remained, What happens next? In observatories around the world, scientists stared at their screens, their data streaming in real time. The numbers were undeniable. 3 Atlas was not behaving like any known celestial object. Its trajectory, once thought to be a simple hyperbolic path, now seemed to bend in ways that defied gravity. It was as if the object was being guided, pulled by forces unseen and unmeasured. The markings on its surface, now fully visible, seemed to form a pattern, a geometry that echoed the alignments of the planets themselves. And as the final alignment neared, the signals grew stronger. Pulses of energy detected by satellites in orbit seemed to emanate from 3 Atlas and resonate with Mars and Earth. The planets themselves seemed to hum in harmony, their magnetic fields fluctuating in unison. On the ground, people gathered in mass, their eyes turned to the sky. In cities, the glow of streetlights dimmed as power grids flickered under the strain of the cosmic energy. In rural areas, the stars seemed brighter, as if the heavens themselves were watching, and deep within the earth, ancient structures long dormant stirred. The pyramids of Egypt, the stone circles of Stonehenge, the carved statues of Easter Island all seemed to resonate with the approaching object. Their stones, cold and silent for millennia, now vibrated with a faint but unmistakable energy. It was as if the planet itself was awakening, responding to the call of 3 Atlas. The final alignment was not a moment of destruction, but a moment of revelation. As 3 Atlas took its place in the celestial dance, the truth became clear. We were not alone. We were never alone. The universe was not a cold, indifferent void, but a living tapestry of connections, of signals, of alignments. And we, humanity, were part of that tapestry. Every question we asked, every mystery we sought to unravel, was part of a greater design. And as the alignment completed, the question remained, what happens next? The answer, it seemed, lay not in the stars, but within ourselves. We were the observers, the seekers, the awakened, and the universe, it seemed, was waiting for us to take our place among the stars. Part 11, The Aftermath. What if the impact isn't the end, but the beginning of something far greater? In the aftermath of the alignment, Mars remained physically unscathed, yet profoundly altered. The signals from Olympus Mons had ceased, but the planet pulsed with an uncanny vitality. Seismometers at the InSight lander recorded rhythmic vibrations, not Marsquakes, but a steady heartbeat-like pattern emanating from deep within the mantle. Every 17.3 hours, this pulse echoed through the planet, accompanied by localized fluctuations in Mars's magnetic field. Orbital satellites tracked these shifts, revealing intricate patterns akin to neural activity. The European Space Agency's Mars Express orbiter captured images of the planet's surface, where subtle shifts in the reddish soil hinted at subterranean movement, as if the planet itself was stirring from a long slumber. Observations. Mars showed no signs of physical impact, but its seismic and magnetic activity had subtly changed. The long dormant magnetic field registered fluctuations at 0.5 nanoteslas, a tiny value, yet significant compared to decades of near-zero readings. These fluctuations synchronized with the seismic pulsations, suggesting a connection. Meanwhile, Mars' atmosphere crackled with unusual electrical discharges, brief yet intense enough to be visible from orbit as blue-white sparks. These discharges, later dubbed Mars flares, occurred most frequently over the Tharsis region, where Olympus Mons stood as the tallest volcano in the solar system. The flares left faint, ephemeral patterns in the dust below, resembling fractal designs that faded within hours. Interpretation. The changes hinted at a deeper interaction between Mars and 3 Atlas. The synchronicity of seismic and magnetic anomalies defied conventional geological explanations, suggesting 3 Atlas may have activated dormant processes within Mars or deposited energy into its core. Some researchers proposed that Mars might be undergoing an unknown, possibly intentional transformation, triggered by the alignment. Planetary scientists at Caltech and the University of Tokyo theorized that the energy transfer could have reactivated Mars's dynamo effect, the process that generates a planet's magnetic field. If true, this could shield Mars from solar radiation, a critical step toward habitability. Speculation. Did Mars absorb something from 3 Atlas? Energy, information, or something else entirely? The possibility raised unsettling questions. Could Mars be experiencing a form of natural terraforming? If so, our understanding of planetary evolution and life beyond Earth would require re-evaluation. Astronomers at the Keck Observatory in Hawaii detected faint but anomalous infrared emissions from Mars's surface, concentrated near the poles. These emissions, which didn't match any known geological or atmospheric process, fueled speculation about subsurface activity, perhaps melting ice or even microbial life awakening in the warming soil. On Earth, scientists grappled with more questions than answers. 3 Atlas, now receding, left behind a molecular trail emitting structured adaptive signals. Researchers at the SETI Institute intercepted these patterns which evolved in response to observation. Embedded within the signals were mathematical constants like pi and the golden ratio, clustered in intervals matching Mars's pulsations. This implied an intelligence capable of manipulating universal principles. The signals also contained what appeared to be encoded images, abstract shapes that changed over time, resembling the neural patterns observed on Mars. When deciphered, these images seemed to form a sequence, as if telling a story or conveying a message. As Mars transformed, the world watched in awe and unease. Methane levels spiked to 21 parts per billion, the highest ever recorded, while wispy clouds formed intricate shadow-casting patterns. The pulsations and magnetic fluctuations grew stronger, and governments worldwide poured resources into studying the phenomenon. NASA and SpaceX accelerated plans for a crewed mission, aiming to reach Mars by 2035. Yet fear lingered. Could Earth be next? In cities across the globe, protests erupted, with activists demanding transparency and caution. "We are not prepared," read banners in Paris, Tokyo, and New York. Meanwhile, religious groups interpreted the events as signs of divine intervention, sparking both hope and conflict. The changes on Mars intensified over months. Methane levels suggested possible biological activity, while the clouds and magnetic hotspots became more pronounced. Universities saw a surge in science enrollments, and popular culture reflected the world's fascination and anxiety. Blockbuster films like The Awakening of Mars and documentaries such as 3 Atlas, The Unseen Force dominated screens, while bookshelves filled with titles like The Mars Phenomenon, A New Dawn for Humanity. As Mars evolved, humanity watched, captivated and wary, wondering what the next chapter held. The aftermath of the alignment was far from over. In the deserts of Nevada, a secretive facility known as Site Omega became the epicenter of government-funded research into 3 Atlas. Scientists worked around the clock, analyzing the molecular trail left by the object. They discovered that the trail contained microscopic particles unlike anything in the periodic table, dubbed Atlas particles, which seemed to defy the laws of physics. When exposed to certain frequencies, these particles emitted bursts of energy, mimicking the pulsations observed on Mars. The implications were staggering. If harnessed, this energy could revolutionize technology, from limitless clean power to interstellar travel. But with opportunity came risk. In a classified report leaked to the press, a group of dissenting scientists warned that the Atlas particles were unstable and potentially dangerous. "We are playing with forces we do not understand," the report stated. If mishandled, these particles could trigger uncontrollable reactions, potentially altering Earth's environment in unpredictable ways. The leak sparked global outrage, with calls for the research to be halted. Protests outside Site Omega grew violent as activists clashed with military police. The facility went into lockdown, its work shrouded in even greater secrecy. Meanwhile, Mars continued to evolve. Satellite images revealed that the planet's polar ice caps were receding at an accelerated rate, releasing vast amounts of water vapor into the atmosphere. The once barren landscape began to show signs of change. Patches of dark, moist soil appeared in the equatorial regions, and faint traces of chlorophyll, a pigment associated with plant life, were detected in spectroscopic analysis. The possibility of life on Mars, once a distant dream, now seemed within reach. But with it came a haunting question. If Mars was awakening, what would it become? As the world grappled with these developments, a new discovery emerged. Deep in the archives of the Vatican, a team of historians uncovered an ancient manuscript, written in a language that defied translation. The manuscript contained diagrams that bore a striking resemblance to the neural patterns observed on Mars. When the diagrams were overlaid with the Mars flare images captured by orbiting satellites, the match was uncanny. The manuscript, dated to the 13th century, raised profound questions. Had humanity known about 3 Atlas for centuries? And if so, who or what had passed down this knowledge? The aftermath of the alignment had become a story of discovery and fear, of hope and caution. Mars, once a symbol of humanity's ambition to explore the cosmos, now stood as a testament to the unknown forces that shaped the universe. As the planet continued to transform, humanity faced a choice: to embrace the change and unlock its potential, or to retreat into the safety of the known. The path forward was uncertain, but one thing was clear. The alignment of 3 Atlas had opened a new chapter in human history, one that would redefine our place in the cosmos. Part 12. The Legacy of 3 Atlas. What if the truth about 3 Atlas is still unfolding, and we're part of the story? In the months that followed, 3 Atlas receded into the cosmic abyss, its signals growing fainter with each passing day. But its legacy lived on, etching itself into the collective consciousness of humanity. On Mars, the eye in the dust fields remained, a silent testament to the alignment that had changed everything. The eye, a perfect geometric circle spanning 50 kilometers in diameter, became a focal point for scientific inquiry and philosophical debate. Satellite imagery revealed intricate patterns within the eye, suggesting it was not a natural formation, but a deliberate construction. Research stations were established in its vicinity, where scientists worked tirelessly to decode the enigmatic symbols etched into the Martian surface. These symbols, numbering in the thousands, were arranged in concentric circles, each layer containing variations of what appeared to be an ancient script, yet to be deciphered. On Earth, scientists continued to decipher the molecular trail, uncovering layer after layer of encoded information, not just biological but mathematical, musical, and even philosophical. The biological sequences alone contained over 10 million base pairs, arranged in patterns that defied natural explanation. These sequences, when analyzed, revealed genetic blueprints for organisms that had never been seen on Earth, suggesting that 3 Atlas had left behind a roadmap for life forms beyond our current understanding. Mathematical algorithms embedded within the code suggested advanced computational systems far beyond human understanding. These algorithms, when applied to existing technologies, accelerated advancements in artificial intelligence and data processing, leading to the development of machines capable of solving problems that had once been considered unsolvable. Musical patterns, when translated into audible frequencies, produced haunting melodies that resonated with ancient cultural motifs, as if 3 Atlas had studied human history and woven it into its message. Philosophical texts encoded in binary sequences posed questions about the nature of existence, consciousness, and the interconnectedness of all life. These texts, when translated, read like a dialogue between civilizations, inviting humanity to engage in a cosmic conversation about the purpose of life and the universe. Observations. 3 Atlas's molecular trail contains layers of encoded information, including biological, mathematical, and musical patterns. The eye of Mars exhibits geometric precision and symbolic markings, indicating intelligent design. Interpretation. These patterns suggest a deliberate attempt to communicate with intelligent life, offering insights into advanced science, art, and philosophy. Speculation. Could 3 Atlas have left us a message or a test to decipher over time? Is it possible that the eye of Mars is a beacon, a physical marker meant to guide us toward further discovery? The eye of Mars, still visible from orbit, became a symbol of our newfound connection to the cosmos, a reminder that we are not alone, not in the physical sense, but in the profound existential sense, that we are part of a larger story, a story written in the stars, the planets, and the very fabric of reality itself. Astronauts orbiting Mars reported feeling a strange sense of familiarity when gazing at the eye, as if it were a portal to something beyond human comprehension. Images of the eye were broadcast globally, sparking conversations about humanity's place in the universe and inspiring countless works of art, literature, and music. In classrooms around the world, students studied the eye's geometric perfection, learning about the principles of symmetry, proportion, and the golden ratio. Artists created installations that replicated the eye's design, inviting viewers to contemplate its symbolic meaning and the implications of its existence. The scientific community was galvanized by the discoveries. Research accelerated in fields as diverse as astrobiology, quantum physics, and theoretical mathematics. Over 200 international conferences were held in the first year alone, bringing together experts from every discipline to share findings and collaborate on decoding the message of 3 Atlas. Governments allocated unprecedented funding to space exploration and interstellar communication efforts, recognizing that this was not just a scientific breakthrough but a watershed moment for humanity. New observatories were constructed equipped with advanced telescopes capable of detecting signals from deep space. These observatories, staffed by teams of astronomers and physicists, became hubs of innovation, where theories about the origin and purpose of 3 Atlas were debated and tested. Known. 3 Atlas's molecular trail contains layers of encoded information, including biological, mathematical, and musical patterns. The Eye of Mars is a geometrically perfect structure, likely created by intelligent design. Unknown. The full extent of this information and its implications for humanity. The purpose of the Eye of Mars and its connection to 3 Atlas. As humanity looked out at the stars, the question remained: what happens next? 3 Atlas had come and gone, but its message lingered. A living code, a cosmic invitation, a call to awaken to our place in the universe. And as we stared into the abyss stared back, not with indifference, but with purpose, as if to say, we are not alone, we are part of the design. And the story is far from over. The legacy of 3 Atlas extended beyond science and philosophy. It touched the hearts and minds of people worldwide. In cities from New York to Tokyo, public installations were erected to represent the Eye of Mars, becoming gathering places for reflection and dialogue. These installations, often illuminated at night, served as beacons of hope and unity, drawing people together to discuss the mysteries of the cosmos and the potential for interstellar connection. Schools incorporated the story of 3 Atlas into curricula, teaching students about the interconnectedness of life and the potential for cosmic communication. Lesson plans included activities that encouraged students to create their own interpretations of the Eye of Mars, fostering creativity and critical thinking. Religious and spiritual leaders reinterpreted ancient texts in light of the new discoveries, finding parallels between 3 Atlas and age-old stories of divine intervention. Some believed that the Eye of Mars was a manifestation of a higher power, a sign that humanity was being guided toward a greater understanding of its place in the universe. In the artistic community, the influence of 3 Atlas was profound. Musicians composed symphonies inspired by the haunting melodies encoded in the molecular trail. These compositions, performed in concert halls around the world, evoked a sense of wonder and awe, transporting audiences to realms beyond the familiar. Filmmakers created epics that explored the existential questions raised by the cosmic invitation. These films, often blending science fiction with spiritual themes, captured the imagination of millions, inspiring them to consider the deeper meaning of life and the universe. Writers penned novels and poems that delved into the mystery of the Eye of Mars and the implications of humanity's newfound connection to the cosmos. These works, translated into multiple languages, reached readers across the globe, fostering a sense of shared experience and understanding. Theaters staged plays that imagined encounters with the intelligence behind 3 Atlas, exploring themes of unity, purpose, and the search for meaning. These productions, often experimental in nature, challenged audiences to think beyond the limits of human perception and consider the possibilities of cosmic communication. As the years passed, the Eye of Mars remained a constant reminder of our place in the universe. Scientists continued to unravel the layers of encoded information, each discovery revealing new depths to the message of 3 Atlas. The mathematical algorithms led to breakthroughs in quantum computing, enabling humanity to process information at speeds unimaginable just a decade earlier. These advancements revolutionized industries ranging from medicine to finance, transforming the way data was analyzed and utilized. The biological sequences provided insights into genetics and evolution, challenging long-held theories and opening new avenues for medical research. Scientists discovered that certain sequences contained instructions for synthesizing proteins that could potentially cure diseases once thought incurable. The musical patterns inspired a global movement of sound healers, who used the frequencies to create therapeutic experiences that transcended cultural and linguistic barriers. These healers, often working in collaboration with musicians and psychologists, developed techniques that harnessed the power of sound to promote physical and emotional well-being. Finale, the cosmic invitation. In the end, 3 Atlas didn't come from Mars, it came for our attention. And now that it has it, we have to ask, what happens next? The cosmos is not indifferent. It is alive with purpose, with intent, with a story that includes us. And as we stand on the precipice of understanding, the question remains, are we ready for the truth? The truth about Mars, the truth about life, the truth about ourselves. 3 Atlas was not a comet. It was a keystone, a living code, a cosmic invitation. And as it recedes into the void, its message echoes through the stars, through the planets, through the very fabric of reality itself. We are not alone. We are part of the design. And the story is far from over. So look up at the stars, listen to the whispers of the cosmos, and remember, the universe is watching, and it's waiting for us to awaken. The legacy of 3 Atlas will continue to unfold, guiding humanity toward a future where the boundaries between science, art, and spirituality dissolve, and we emerge as a united, cosmic-minded civilization. The Eye of Mars will remain a beacon, a symbol of our connection to the greater universe, reminding us that we are part of something far larger than ourselves. And as we continue to decipher the message of 3 Atlas, we will come to understand that the universe is not a cold, empty void, but a living, breathing entity full of purpose and meaning.